I'd like to take a minute and introduce you to our metal cutting mill. We could probably teach a whole class on this machine. There's a lot to it. There's college classes on it, and there is a lot of industry uses CNC mills, and there's a lot of local industry that still use manual mills as well to kind of incorporate different things into their different projects that they're doing. But this is basically a machine to carve metal, drill holes, carve metal, do different things, make different shapes. And it has, there's a whole set of different bits you can put on here. So here's different bits. These are all different diameters. They have different cutting specs for different materials and things like that. Our mill, we don't use the mill a ton. Honestly, I can't find a lot of really neat projects. I feel like all the projects are fairly slow that you can build on it, and a lot of times my students lose interest. I feel like whereas when you're welding up a project, you can see progress a lot faster. So we don't have a lot of projects that we do on the mill, but it's a really useful tool to have in the shop still. We use it probably the most in robotics. We'll have to make a certain part or alter a certain part, and that's where it comes in really handy. So we have a very light duty mill. This is not a great mill for carving into very dense materials. We carve a lot of plastic, and we carve a lot of light gauge metal, or really soft metal. So right now what I have in here is I have a piece of aluminum. So this is a chunk of pretty thick aluminum, but still it's pretty soft aluminum for what we're trying to do. So basically how the mill works is I chuck the piece of metal up in the vise. So we have our vise here, and I would have to have some measurements on there, some scribed marks of what I'm trying to do, but I have this tightened down. The vise is mounted to the ways here, and I can turn this back and forth, and that's how I do the cutting. By turning these two dials, I feed the cutter in different directions, and I do the cutting. And then I can lower and raise the mill as well. We have a digital readout over here on this side. I can really do some precise work here with the digital readout. I can set, and it breaks it down to 10 thousandths of an inch, or I can even do a little bit better than that. But a lot of times what we're doing is we're just making some marks on here of some material that we want to remove on here. So we have a cutter in here right now, and a lot of times using a little coolant really helps out, helps the life of the cutter. So sometimes you'll be spraying the coolant as you make the cut, but you're basically just going to cut off a very small amount of material at a time. So, probably 60 thousandths of an inch is kind of what we're aiming for. You could cut off maybe as much as like a 1/16 of an inch. Somewhere in that range is where we're looking at, but it's gonna just be a real gentle cut. And there's a lot to learn with the feed rates and the different cutters and all that, but I just kind of wanted to show you just a little bit of a demo. Long hair, anything that could get caught in this could be a real problem, so you want to watch out for that. So now I'm just going to feed this workpiece into the cutter, just real gently. And it'll start making some chips here, and that's basically all I'm trying to do. So if I was trying to put a slot in this, I might just go right across that. And I'm starting to get a little buildup right now. I don't think I have quite the right speed rate for this cutter, but I'm going to zoom in a little just so you can see a little closer detail of what we're trying to do. So see how that aluminum's sticking to my cutter a little bit? I'm going to try to increase the speed just a little bit and see if it doesn't clean that off just a little. But now I'm just cutting right across there. So it's doing a pretty good job now. So let's say if I just wanted to put a small channel across this piece of metal, I could do that with this groove. So I'm just turning that dial below, and there we go. I just broke all the way through to the other side, and then I'm going to turn it off and show you what I did. So I can move it that direction, or I could go the other direction. If I want to make it just a little wider, I could go back across it in another direction, where you can kind of see the mark of where it's cutting. So that just gives you kind of an idea what this machine can do. So high skill level for this machine. This is not a machine that is very easy for beginners to use without a lot of education. So a lot of high skill level. It doesn't add really any heat to the metal. It can be extremely precise. If you have everything dialed in, everything's locked down nice and tight, you have your coordinates all set up, you can be extremely accurate. You know, you could get down to almost the thickness of a hair on accuracy if you're really good at this. But it is a tricky machine to use. And like I said, the one we have and the tooling we have, I prefer that we only cut plastic and aluminum really. We try to stay away from the dead steels unless we really have to. But this is the milling machine. So it's basically a machine to contour and cut and shape metal. And that's a little intro for you.